Think of the location of this show, because you're very close to Wall Street. You're right there, right? And Wall Street, there's this relentless flow of utilitarian information. People want numbers because numbers, define their livelihood, buying, selling. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see, can they step into Trinity Church and suspend that kind of relentless flow? And it's a different kind of time experience, isn't it? It's a spatial difference that's also a temporal difference in terms of having a different relation to the movement of time. I think that's going to be extraordinarily interesting to see.
I think that complex association with money historically, from Christ chasing out the money changers or the money lenders from the temple, to having a bank of windows that faces Wall Street. And actually my son works in the New York Federal Reserve. So he's part of the money changers on a government level. So it was interesting as I was looking at the gestures from the web, from articles. They seemed so similar to what was happening in the Renaissance, this passion, this angst, this, confusion. I think it's just endless. I don't know, it's interesting to think what money means to us, and when things go into a decline, what's significant becomes insignificant, and what was insignificant becomes very significant. And it just seems to happen. It's eternal. I don't think there's any solution for it.
I think the finance has changed everything in the art world in ways that no one fully understands. I think that the financial crisis has hit the museums and it hit the galleries. The most interesting question, in my view, is how is that going to change the nature of the art that's being made? We're not in a flush time, and I'm very fascinated to see how the artists respond to that. I think artists have always been very sensitive to these economic and cultural and political changes, and I think that's what we're going to see. That's what I look forward to seeing in your show.
Like when I make something, I'm bringing a part of me into what I'm making. So it's like whether it's my environment or my ideas or my past or different things. There's all these elements about me that are going into a piece of work, but I think then when the viewer kind of looks at something or sees something or interacts with something, they're bringing a part of them, their environment, their thoughts, their, past experiences. So it really, to me, a piece of art is really the initiation of a conversation, which necessarily isn't happening between two people literally, but, intellectually. It's like one thought and one idea being passed to another person.
Well, I think that art isn't a choice in a way. Being an artist is not a choice. It's not a job. I think for anybody I know, it's something they've always done. It's a part of them. And there's a need to express visually some response to the world.
It's interesting because, we were talking about my work being spiritually based. I think it's less religion and more about light and energy and connectedness. There is a sense, and I don't think all artists feel this, but there is a sense, at least with my work, where it is a sort of channeling, that you're kind of opening to something and letting that kind of evolve in. Not so much that you're controlling it, but you're maybe channeling it a bit would be a good.
I think that modern pop culture promoted lifestyles that people bought into, And it was to do with things like reality TV shows and making celebrities out of ordinary people. People see this fame and this wealth that normal people have very quickly, and everybody wants it because it's seductive. And I think that in people's daily lives, it translates through them trying to emulate this. And it can lead to spending more money than you have, or to going on vacation when you can't afford it. And it feeds slowly and subconsciously into daily life, because we're seeing it in the newspapers, see it everywhere.
We can talk about my art piece, Cash Me Cash for My Tax. I think title just can give kind of humor to audience, and maybe from this humor audience can get a reason to think about what is new idol, money and tax.
The artist tries to seek out an expression in a way that they feel they can deal with truth. They can make a contribution to the to the culture. They can be truth tellers in this way through art.
I think people always bring their own sort of backgrounds and what they come from, and I think the exhibition here is great because I think whatever your background, there'll be something for you. I think if you come from a very ecclesiastical background, you know a lot about the church, you know a lot about the Bible. I think when you go in there, you'll take one reading of the work and one reading of the exhibition. But equally, if you come with perhaps less knowledge of the Bible, or you don't have such you can take away something else from that piece of work and the exhibition as a whole.
Art has a way of bringing together what's happening in the culture and pushing us forward. And I would hope that our exhibit can contribute toward that kind of truth-telling and pushing us forward as a culture as we discern where we are and what we need to do.